Hello, once again, audience. I don't know where I got that from. Some YouTuber. But I say it because I haven't spoken to the camera in a rant in a long time, and I got something to say. I'm in the middle of cleaning, so sometimes when you clean, I'm exercising, getting my blood flowing, I'm getting excited, but also I'm the only one in the house, and so I'm like, I got all this Brandon energy that I almost never get to express because it's not for everyone. It's just for me. It's my thing. Maybe it's for you. Here we go. So all that context aside, I want to talk about logic. And but I'm going to start with, okay, here's how I want to do it. I had this little fantasy in my head a few minutes ago, and I was like, little thought, creative process. Sorry, I'm rusty. I'm rusty. I'm old. I'm old and rusty. An ADHD or whatever. Who gives a shit? I'll cut this part out. You guys won't even know. Here's the thought experiment or scenario. I'm gonna write down two hidden messages and put them face down. And I'm gonna ask somebody a series of questions. And the idea is that they're going to arrive at the same point as what's on this hidden, what I wrote down. They're gonna arrive at this point. I'm gonna help them figure out this. The exercise is to show people some reality that they maybe don't understand, some reality that will help connect us all and help people understand what matters, what's right and what's wrong. Help them think it's not subjective, it's a little bit objective. Okay. Let's go through, let's just start. Like, this is so tricky, it's so complicated. How do you even begin? How do writers write? You have all these ideas and you got to put them together in an order. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do here in front of the camera, and it's not going well. I'm just gonna throw shit out there. What is the root of all evil? You've heard that money is the root of all evil. Okay, what is evil then? What is evil? What is bad? I mean, really, when you think about it, you might, if you're a Republican, you might just say like, oh, well, Democrats. If you're a Democrat, you might just say, oh, Republicans, or something like that. Or you might just say Trump is the evil, whatever he does, or narcissism, or selfishness. Okay. If you keep asking yourself these questions, you're going to get deeper and deeper into what it really is. And I believe that everyone eventually would arrive at the same conclusion if you drill down deep enough and get to the roots of what is bad. And good is harder, but what is bad? What is evil or bad? And I've done this myself, and a lot of you have too, and I think what I would write down on the card is the word suffering. It's kind of a generic feeling thing. We don't put a lot of like meaning into what suffering is. Oh, someone's suffering, okay, and so it's just a tool we have to show us what needs help, right? Well, it's the tool. If you think about it, if you keep drilling down to what is wrong with things, it comes down to suffering in one form or another. People having a hard time, you want to make life better and easier because they're struggling they have too much work and they're stressed, and that comes down to because what's really the problem with all that stuff is they're suffering. Okay, well, that extends to all creatures. In different kind of forms, suffering manifests differently. Like someone might some human, we all know people like this, might not be physically hurt. They might be feeling any pain, but they're still suffering emotional or frustration, or just their brains are like just fucking for no particular, not really logically, they're just kind of in a brain pattern that's just uncomfortable and stress. They're suffering, even though they're not being stabbed or poked or something. So suffering is kind of a strange, seemingly kind of abstract idea. But it also links, when you're damaged, you're feeling a pain, you're like, oh no, and you're worried about you're gonna not be able to use your arm, or all kinds of things that all kind of boil down to this generic idea of suffering. Okay, that's sort of phase one, is showing people that we all kind of understand. Everyone, all creatures, understand suffering. But how? Why? That's part two. Why did I know, assuming that this experiment actually, that I was able to talk to someone and get them to say the word suffering at the end. If I was able to guide someone in logic to find this one idea. Assuming I could do that. I believe I could do that. I believe anybody could do that, but I haven't really tested it that much, so I don't know. But assuming this is true, and I wrote this down and I surprised me. Yeah, how did I know that? How did I know you were gonna say suffering? Well, things I've been talking about, it's universal, but why? How do we know things? How do we all kind of understand in the same kind of way? How do we all know how do we all figure things out kind of the same kind of way? And it reminded me of a cartoon or an animated film that I saw, Flight of Dragons, where this green wizard was talking about logic, as if it's this magic thing that you tap into and it kind of rules the universe in some kind of way. Logic is the thing to worship or something. And it's like gatekeeping, I feel like you have to be smart to be logical. And it always kind of bothered me a little bit, like, oh, I want to be good at logic or something, like if statements and whatever else. But here's what I think I know. Here's my theory I'm confident in. Logic is baked in to brains. And maybe other systems too, probably other systems too. Logic is mechanical. There's nothing to gatekeep. You have to have logic, or else you can't think. Thoughts don't make any sense without logic. But it's not like a CPU is in there like doing some calculations. No, logic is just pathways. Minecraft. Redstone. Have you seen redstone in Minecraft? In Minecraft, you can have these little redstone wires. You have this redstone dust, and kind of paint it on the ground. And it makes these little wires, and then you can you attach a switch to one end, and you flip it, and it kind of lights up the wire. This lights up the redstone, and there's some mechanics that go involved with like how much it lights up and stuff. Well, you can also make these logic gates, like an AND gate, where if you have two switches and they're connected with a torch thing, and the redstone coming out the other side, but the redstone is only this resulting redstone is only active when both switches are on. And you can have an OR gate where the redstone, if you do it, I can't remember how, like with the torch and stuff, you can do it different. You just set it up mechanically differently, where the redstone is on with either or of these are on. And if both are off, it's off. But if one is on, it's on. If either one are on, it's on. But you can set it up differently where it have to be both. But the point is, it's mechanical. Logic, being able to say this and this is true, or this is true, this is a mechanical feature. And I want to talk about logic being mechanical because it's in all of us. Even the Republicans have logic. Half of your brain, I feel like, or all of it really, is based on logic. We have these emergent, ideas, and the brains are, more complicated than just logical pathways, because they connect pieces into this conscious sort of cloud of electrical patterns and who knows what else, connecting all these memories and feelings and, well, all the senses, I guess, and memory, and brains are complicated. But the point is, there's sort of two things we're talking about here: being smart, which is just stupid. Everyone. I can't. I don't want to get into that can of worms. Everyone has logic. That's the thing I want to communicate to people. And everyone can use logic. Everyone has to arrive at logical conclusions. So you can't get away from this. Everyone has this. That's the thing that I think that is important to understand, is like when you're a Democrat and you're like, the Republicans are a lost cause. Or if you're a Republican, you might, the Democrats are a lost cause. No, logic. We can understand each other. We can arrive at the same conclusions logically. Now there's opinions, and facts are all messy. But you have your unknowns and your known unknowns and your unknown unknowns. But if you're honest about your unknowns and you use logic honestly, like, I'm not sure if this is true, then this logical conclusion can be true-ish, or likely true, because of some other variables. But when you make your assumption, how confident are you in this assumption? And then you have your confidence level of this assumption you're making when you make your argument. But we don't need to argue with so much opinion. Be honest when you argue, and we're all going to kind of arrive at the same things. This is a link between the left and the right. This is the thing that fascism is. This thing is going to defeat fascism if we can just embrace the truth of what we are. We're not some magical creature. We are a mechanical creature. We have these seemingly magical properties because of all this complexity. Billions of years of evolution makes this complex creature. We are the result of billions of years of success. We are the success stories. Evolution has tried everything. The little tiny path of all the billions and trillions and trillions of paths that evolution has tried to take with creatures, the one that got us here is so extremely unlikely, or so extremely rare. Of all the trillions of possibilities that have tried and failed, the one that succeeded is humans. It is us. I mean, and dogs and lizards and beetles too. They are success stories just as much as we are. Adapted to their environment through billions of years of evolution. And yes, billions of years, not just thousands. We're not just 100,000 years old. That's ridiculous. We are billions of years old. We are billions. Our DNA has been evolving literally for billions of years. The actual DNA in every little bit of pieces of you, every little bit that has DNA in you, that molecule has been, past every generation sort of makes a new version of this molecule, and you are that version. Well, that's half of you. The other half is the emergent property that you are, and your consciousness or whatever. But the DNA is in every bit of you except for the bacteria that's also you. You are your cells, but you are also the creatures that we have evolved alongside of, and they have different DNA than us. That are in every little bit of us. Like, right, there's a billion of them right in here, and a billion of them right in there. Well, I don't know about a billion. There's lots of tiny little creatures going about their business, and we wouldn't survive without them. Some of them we would survive just fine without, but we've evolved to have this structure that houses these other creatures, and these creatures, they don't want to kill us because they would die. So it's mutual beneficial evolution. What do you call it? Coevolution. I'm not sure. I can't remember all the words. I'm not that smart, but I have logic, and I've embraced that, thinking that that was some kind of magical, like, intelligence. Not magical, just something to strive for. Like, being logical is like something to strive for. But no, logic is just an ability we have. We have no choice but to be logical. Now, when you have these ideas that are counter to logical conclusions, like culture will, in all of its beauty, all the cultural expression, it also is sort of tells you not to believe your logic. It tells you, no, well, your logic says this, but culture says this, and these things don't jive. So my priest would get mad at me if I believed my own logical structures. So we don't, and that's a thing we can do. We can ignore logic, which is fine. Logic's not perfect because facts aren't perfect. So logic only works with facts. If this is true, well, okay, well then these things might be true, and if it's not true, then these things might be true, and if these aren't true, all that. That's logical conclusions. But culture and religion and whatever else, we all have it because we have to. Culture's that's how we pass down information. We think we have something we think we know, and we tell our children we think this is right, but we don't. We're not great at things, and we well, if you go down this path, I'm pretty sure it'll lead you somewhere good because I took this path, and I don't know about these paths down here. Don't go down those paths. I'm not sure. That's how we teach our children, and it's not necessarily logical. It's cultural, and those two things are not necessarily at odds. But this is something I want people to understand. Your culture, which everyone has, and religion is a form of culture, is one of the forms of culture, and snobbishness in high society. Jeffrey Epstein's culture is a culture, not necessarily a good one. Terrible. This causes a lot of suffering. So how could it, using your logic again, you define that suffering is sort of the one thing that's really easily defined as bad, but not necessarily, because all that obvious things, like you have to push yourself to grow, and you have to sort of suffer to grow, and suffer to evolve smartly. To be faced with problems is a form of suffering. But if you don't face those problems, how are you gonna figure out how to solve the problems, or have an interesting life of problem solving? Does everyone agree that problem solving is what makes life interesting? I don't know if that's it. Everyone agrees with that. I think problems make life interesting, and I pray for problems. I hope that the problems are clever ones, like how to go to the moon or something, instead of how to not be tortured by these people, or these barbaric apes, on the streets with their ice badges or whatever they got. I want good problems, not bad problems. But I don't want no problems. I don't want my kids to have the same problems I had. I want them to have their own problems so they can grow and face and struggle, but in a way that leads them to something clearly progress. What is progress? It's something that leads to something we think we want. If we use our intelligence to define a goal, trust that. We have to. That's all we got. We can't suddenly tap into super intelligence unless the aliens come down and tell us what all the answers are. And, no, you really got to be striving for this. Okay, well then I guess maybe we'll take that into account. All we got is our meaty brains and each other and our books and our YouTube videos and our music and whatever else to help us define what the future should be, and we go get it. 20 minutes. Have I covered everything?